Zachary's breath caught in his throat, his mind scrambling for the phone on the nightstand, but his fingers froze mid-reach. The man, mid-20s, maybe, with rain-slicked black hair plastered to his forehead and a leather jacket dripping onto the scarred hardwood floor, didn't move for his pockets or the drawers. He just stood there, chest heaving, gaze raking over Zachary's exposed form, not with the cold calculation of a burglar, but with a hunger that twisted Zachary's gut into knots. "Don't," the intruder said, voice low and ragged, like gravel under tires on a back road in the dead of night. "I'm not here to hurt you. Not anymore." Zachary bolted upright, yanking the sheet to his waist, his pulse thundering in his ears louder than the storm outside. His apartment in Brooklyn's Bushwick neighborhood wasn't much, a third-floor walk-up in a brick building that smelled like old pizza and regret. But it was his sanctuary, the one place he'd carved out after the wreckage of his last relationship. 2 years ago, his ex, Marcus, had shattered him with a betrayal so clean it felt surgical. Walking in on Marcus tangled with some finance bro in their bed, the one Zachary had picked out at IKEA with dreams of forever stitched into every thread. Since then, Zachary had sworn off the mess of love, burying himself in freelance graphic design gigs and late-night runs along the East River, chasing the burn in his lungs to drown out the ache in his chest. But now, this stranger with eyes like smoked whiskey was staring at him like he'd seen Zachary's soul laid bare, and for the first time in months, Zachary didn't feel alone. He felt seen, raw and terrifyingly so. "Who the fuck are you?" Zachary finally managed, his voice cracking like thunder in the humid air. He glanced at the window, half open to let in the summer breeze, now a gateway for chaos. The fire escape ladder clanged faintly against the brick, a reminder of how easy it was for the world to crash in. The man hesitated, his gloved hand twitching toward his face as if debating a mask he hadn't bothered with. "Name's Alex," he said, the word dropping like a confession in a confessional booth. He peeled off one glove, revealing fingers scarred from God knows what. Fights, falls, the kind of life that left marks you couldn't Photoshop out. "And you're Zachary Hale, the guy from the gallery opening last fall. The one who designed that mural on the warehouse wall, the lovers under the bridge." Zachary's stomach dropped. "The mural? Yeah, he poured his guts into that piece 6 months back, a commission for some artsy nonprofit in Williamsburg. 2 men entwined on a graffiti-streaked bridge, their bodies a map of desire and despair, painted in electric blues and bruised purples. It was his most personal work, born from the ghost of Marcus's touch, and it had gone viral on Instagram before the paint even dried. But he'd never met this guy. "How do you?" "I saw it." Alex cut in, stepping closer, his boots leaving wet prints on the rug. The air between them thickened, charged like the storm outside, and Zachary caught a whiff of him. Rain and cheap soap and something sharper, like fear masked as bravado. It hit me like a freight train. Made me think maybe I wasn't the only one carrying this shit around. He gestured vaguely at himself, at the duffel bag slung over his shoulder that looked heavy with more than just tools. "Look, I didn't plan this. I scout spots like this for quick grabs, electronics, cash, nothing personal. But when I saw your name on the mailbox downstairs, fuck, I had to see if it was really you." Zachary's mind reeled. A thief who broke in for art? It sounded like the setup for one of those indie films screening at the IFC, all moody lighting and indie folk soundtrack. But there was no script here, no director yelling cut. Just the two of them, Zachary's skin prickling under the sheet, Alex's eyes tracing the lines of his collarbone like he was memorizing a blueprint. "You could have knocked," Zachary said, aiming for sarcasm but landing on something softer, almost inviting. What the hell was wrong with him? This guy could be dangerous. Hell, probably was. But the way Alex looked at him, like Zachary was a lighthouse in a fog bank, stirred something dormant, a flicker of heat low in his belly. Alex let out a bitter laugh, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, well, knocking's not my style. Grew up in foster homes from Jersey to Philly. Learned early that the world's got locks for a reason, and sometimes you gotta pick 'em." He dropped the duffel with a thud, unzipping it slowly, as if daring Zachary to bolt. Inside wasn't jewelry or gadgets, but a sketchbook, dog-eared and stained, pages spilling out like secrets too heavy to hold. He flipped it open, holding it out like an offering. The drawings were rough, urgent, cityscapes bleeding into figures, men with haunted eyes locked in embraces that looked more like lifelines than lust. One page caught Zachary's eye, a half-finished portrait of the bridge lovers, but twisted, one figure reaching while the other faded into shadow. "You're an artist," Zachary breathed, the sheet slipping a fraction as he leaned forward. The vulnerability hit him then, sharp as a switchblade. Here he was, exposed in every sense, and this intruder was handing him pieces of his own fractured heart on paper. Alex corrected, his voice dropping to a whisper that cut deeper than any shout. Till life kicked the shit out of that dream. Now it's just survival sketches. He closed the book, but not before his fingers brushed Zachary's, a spark jumping between them like static on a winter coat. The touch lingered, neither pulling away, the room shrinking to the space between their hands. Outside, lightning cracked the sky, illuminating Alex's face in stark relief, high cheekbones shadowed by stubble, lips pressed thin against whatever storm raged inside him. Zachary should have screamed, called the cops, ended this madness before it began. But instead, he felt the pull, magnetic and inevitable, like the tide dragging him under. "Stay," he said, the words slipping out unbidden, heavy with the weight of all the nights he'd spent alone. "Just talk to me. Tell me why a sketch means breaking into a stranger's place at midnight." Alex's eyes searched his, probing for traps, for the lie beneath the invitation. Then, slowly, he nodded, shrugging off his jacket and letting it pool on the floor like shed skin. "All right, Zachary Hale. But fair warning, this story's got more thorns than roses." And as the rain softened to a patter, they talked. Hours bled into the night, words tumbling out like pent-up rivers. Alex spilled his past, bounced between homes, a queer kid in straight-laced suburbs who learned to steal not for greed, but for the illusion of control. Art was his escape, doodles on napkins turning into visions that kept the darkness at bay. He'd seen Zachary's mural on a stolen phone screen, scrolling through feeds in a diner off 95, and it cracked something open in him, a recognition of his own hidden longings, the love he'd buried under layers of survival. "It made me feel less like a ghost," Alex admitted, his voice raw as he sat cross-legged on the rug, sketchbook forgotten between them. Zachary listened, the sheet long abandoned, his body relaxed in a way it hadn't been since Marcus. He shared his own scars, the golden boy from Ohio who fled to New York for freedom, only to find the city's glitter hid razor edges. Marcus had been his anchor, charming, ambitious, with a laugh that lit up lofts in Soho, until the betrayal, a text message Zachary stumbled on while Marcus showered. "Miss you already. Last night was everything." Sent to a number not in their contacts. The divorce of hearts had been brutal, leaving Zachary adrift, designing logos for startups that peddled dreams he no longer believed in. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving the air crisp and the fire escape glistening. Alex hadn't touched a thing, hadn't run. Instead, he'd sketched Zachary in the lamplight, quick lines capturing the curve of his jaw, the vulnerability in his slouch. "You're beautiful when you're real," Alex murmured, handing over the page like a vow. Zachary's chest tightened, a mix of terror and thrill. This was insane, letting a thief into his bed, his life. But in Alex's gaze, he saw a mirror of his own hunger, the kind that didn't fade with morning light. "Don't disappear on me," Zachary said, his hand finding Alex's again, thumb tracing the scars. "I won't," Alex promised, leaning in until their foreheads touched, breaths mingling in the quiet. "Not if you let me stay." And for the first time in years, Zachary believed in second chances. The days blurred into a fever dream after that night, Zachary's world tilting on its axis like a subway car rounding a sharp curve. Alex didn't leave, not right away. He crashed on the futon in the corner, his duffel stashed under it like a Pandora's box they both pretended wasn't ticking. Morning started with coffee brewed strong and black. The two of them huddled over the tiny kitchen table, trading stories over bagels from the deli downstairs. Zachary watched Alex sketch while he worked on his laptop, the scratch of pencil on paper a soundtrack to their fragile rhythm. There was something electric in the air, a current humming between them, unspoken but insistent. By the end of the week, the futon was abandoned. One evening, as golden hour painted the skyline in hues of tangerine and rose, Alex found Zachary on the fire escape, nursing a beer and staring at the bridge in the distance, the one from his mural. "Penny for your thoughts?" Alex asked, sliding out to join him, their thighs brushing in the tight space. Zachary turned, his blue eyes catching the light like fractured glass. "Just wondering if this is real. You, me. Feels like I'm waiting for the punchline." Alex set his beer down, cupping Zachary's face with hands that no longer trembled. "No punchlines here, Zach. Just us." And then he kissed him, slow at first, tentative, like testing thin ice. But Zachary surged forward, fingers tangling in Alex's damp hair, the kiss deepening into a storm of its own. Lips bruised, tongues exploring with the desperation of men who'd starved too long. They tumbled back inside, clothes shedding like old skin, bodies colliding on the bed in a tangle of limbs and gasps. It was messy, urgent, Alex's mouth mapping Zachary's collarbone, teeth grazing the sensitive skin of his inner thigh, drawing moans that echoed off the brick walls. Zachary arched under him, hands gripping Alex's hips, guiding him with a need that bordered on worship. God, Alex, he whispered as Alex entered him, slow and deliberate, their eyes locked in a gaze that stripped away the last pretenses. It wasn't just sex, it was communion, two souls fraying at the edges, weaving themselves back together in the dim light. Afterward, they lay spent and sticky, Alex's head on Zachary's chest, listening to the steady thump of his heart. I've never let anyone in like this, Alex murmured, tracing lazy circles on Zachary's stomach. Always running. But with you. I want to stay put. Zachary smiled into the dark, his fingers combing through Alex's hair. Then stay. We'll figure it out. Gigs, sketches, whatever. New York's big enough for two dreamers. But cracks spiderwebbed through the idyll sooner than either expected. It started small, Alex vanishing for hours at a time, returning with vague excuses about old contacts and cash that smelled faintly of smoke. Zachary pushed it down, chalking it up to trust issues from his own baggage. He threw himself into a new project, a series of posters for a queer youth center in the village, bold lines depicting hands clasped across divides, inspired by the warmth of Alex's touch. The center's director, a no-nonsense lesbian named Rita with a buzz cut and a tattoo of Audre Lorde on her forearm, pulled him aside during the pitch meeting. This work's got soul, kid. What's fueling it? That glow in your cheeks ain't from kale smoothies. Zachary laughed, cheeks heating. Someone special. Makes me believe in the mess again. Rita's eyes sharpened. Good. But watch your back. Love's a thief too, sometimes. Her words lingered like a bad aftertaste. That night, Zachary came home to find Alex hunched over the table, poring over a map of the city dotted with red pins, jewelry stores, pawn shops, high-rises in Midtown. What's this? Zachary asked, heart sinking. Alex startled, slamming the map shut. Nothing. Just scouting locations for a freelance gig. Architectural sketches. The lie hung heavy, but Zachary swallowed it, pulling Alex into a hug instead. Talk to me. Whatever it is, we face it together. Alex stiffened, then melted, burying his face in Zachary's neck. It's old shit. That's from back when I was stupid. I handled it, swear. They made love again that night, slower this time, bodies moving like a tide in sync. But doubt seated in Zachary's gut, a quiet erosion. Weeks turned to a month, their routine solidifying. Mornings tangled in sheets, afternoons apart. Zachary at co-working spaces in Dumbo, Alex disappearing into the city's underbelly. Evenings were theirs. Walks through Prospect Park, hands brushing under the canopy of oaks, sharing slices of pizza from hole-in-the-walls where the cheese stretched like promises. One night, under a canopy of stars smudged by light pollution, Alex dropped to one knee, not with a ring, but with a tiny origami crane folded from one of his sketches. For luck, he said, voice thick. So we don't crash and burn. Zachary's throat tightened, tears pricking. He unfolded it to find a note inside. You're my bridge, Zach. Don't let me fall. They kissed there on the grass, the world fading to just them, and Zachary thought maybe, just maybe, this was redemption wrapped in newsprint. But fate, that cruel Brooklyn bitch, had other plans. It came on a sticky August afternoon, Zachary wrapping up a client call in a cafe on Bedford Avenue when his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your boy's trouble. Check the alley behind the pawn on Myrtle. A friend. Curiosity warred with dread, but he went, heart pounding as he rounded the corner. There, in the shadow of overflowing dumpsters, was Alex, pinned against the wall by two goons in cheap suits, one gripping his collar, the other flashing a switchblade. You think you can ghost us, kid? That mural artist your cover now? We know where he sleeps. Alex's face was a mask of defiance, blood trickling from a split lip. Fuck off, Marco. I paid up. Leave him out of it. The bigger one laughed, a sound like grinding gears. Debts don't vanish, cause you play house. One more score, or we pay your pretty boyfriend a visit. Zachary's blood ran cold. He backed away, unseen, pulse roaring. Debts? Scores? The map? The absences? It all clicked into a nightmare. He waited till they scattered, then confronted Alex that evening, the origami crane crushed in his fist. "Tell me it's not true," Zachary demanded, voice breaking as Alex walked in, oblivious at first. Alex's face drained of color. "Zach, it's not. Debts? Scores? You're still stealing." The words lashed out, sharper than intended. Zachary paced the apartment, the walls closing in. "I let you in, naked, broken, and this is what I get? Another liar in my bed." Alex reached for him, but Zachary flinched. "It's protection money from my old crew. I was out, but they dragged me back. I didn't want you in the crossfire." "Liar," Zachary shouted, hurling the map across the room. "You used me. The mural, the sketches, it was all a con to get close, wasn't it?" Hurt flashed in Alex's eyes, raw and real. "No. God, no. That night. It changed everything. You're the first good thing I've touched that didn't break. But trust, once cracked, doesn't mend easy." Zachary stormed out, wandering the streets till dawn, the city's hum mocking his turmoil. He crashed at Rita's, spilling the story over cheap wine. "Sounds like he's scared, hon," she said, squeezing his hand. "But fear makes monsters of us all. You gotta decide if he's worth the fight." Back home the next day, the apartment echoed empty. Alex's duffel gone, a note on the pillow. "I'm sorry. You're better without my shadows. Keep the sketches. They were always yours." Zachary sank to the floor, sobs racking him, the betrayal of fresh wound mirroring Marcus's knife twist. But amid the pain, a spark. Alex's eyes that first night, not predatory, but pleading. Was it all smoke, or had something real burned through? He didn't know yet, but the ache told him he couldn't let go without one last stand. Autumn crept in like a thief of its own, leaves turning the sidewalks of Bushwick into a carpet of crimson and gold. But Zachary's world stayed mired in gray. The apartment felt cavernous without Alex's quiet presence. The futon refolded, his sketchbook tucked away like a guilty secret. Zachary threw himself into work, the Queer Youth Center posters evolving into a full exhibit. Bridges Unburned, a gallery show at a loft space in Chelsea. Each piece a testament to fractured loves mended by grit. Critics buzzed. The New York Times called it a raw pulse of queer resilience. But every opening night, toast tasted like ash. Nights were the worst. Zachary lay awake, tracing the ghost of Alex's fingers on his skin, replaying that alley scene in his mind. The goons' threats echoed. "We know where he sleeps." Was Alex safe? Out there dodging blades for debts Zachary couldn't fathom? Guilt gnawed at him. Had his accusation pushed Alex back into the fire? He scrolled through Alex's sparse socials, a ghost account with cryptic posts, a shadowed hand holding a pencil, caption "Shadows don't fade easy." No leads, just echoes. Rita dragged him to a drag brunch in the East Village, feathers and glitter a balm against the bleak. "Honey, you're wallowing like a bad rom-com," she teased, clinking mimosas. "Call the boy, or block him and burn the sketches. But this limbo, it's killing your light." She was right. That night, fueled by liquid courage, Zachary texted the unknown number from the alley warning. "Who is this? Where's Alex?" Minutes ticked by like hours. Then, friend of a friend. "He's holed up in a flop on the Lower East Side. Careful, Marco's crew don't play." An address followed, scribbled on a napkin from some dive bar. The next evening, Zachary rode the subway downtown, the L train rattling like his nerves. The building was a relic, sagging fire escapes, graffiti tags layering like scar tissue. He climbed to the 4th floor, knocking on a door that creaked open to reveal a wiry woman with purple-streaked hair and a cigarette dangling from her lips. "You the artist?" she asked, eyeing him up and down. "Zachary, looking for Alex." She jerked her thumb down the hall. "Room 412. Tell him Lena says to get his ass in gear before Marco sniffs him out." The door to 412 was ajar, spilling yellow light and the scent of instant noodles. Alex was there, hunched over a card table, sketching furiously, a cityscape twisted into thorns. He looked up, and time stuttered. Thinner, shadows under his eyes like bruises, but those hazel depths lit with shock and something softer, aching. "Zach," he breathed, standing so fast the chair toppled. "What the hell?" "Doesn't matter." Zachary stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind him like a gavel. The room was a capsule of despair. Peeling wallpaper, a single bulb swinging overhead, mattress on the floor strewn with crumpled drawings. "I'm here because..." "Fuck, Alex, I can't do this without you. But we gotta be real. No more shadows." Alex's face crumpled, hands clenching at his sides. "I left to protect you. Marco's crew, They're into more than petty theft. Drugs, hits. I pulled one last job to square us, but it went south. They're hunting me, and if they link it back, then we run together. Zachary closed the distance, grabbing Alex's shirt, pulling him close. I'm not Marcus. I'm not gonna bail when it gets ugly. But you gotta let me in, all the way. Trust me like I trusted you that first night. Alex's laugh was broken, tears streaking his cheeks. You think I don't want that? You're the only one who's ever seen me, not the thief. But what if I drag you down? What if? Zachary silenced him with a kiss, fierce and forgiving, tasting salt and desperation. Alex melted into it, hands roaming Zachary's back, bunching his shirt like a lifeline. They sank to the mattress, clothes discarded in a frenzy, bodies reconnecting with an urgency born of loss. Alex's touches were reverent now. Kisses peppering Zachary's scars, whispers of sorry and love you against his skin. Zachary moved over him, claiming every inch, their rhythms syncing like a heartbeat rediscovered. It was cathartic, tears mingling with sweat, a purging of the poison between them. In the afterglow, tangled and breathless, Alex finally spilled it all. The crew, Marco, a mid-level enforcer with ties to cartels spilling over from Jersey, the debt from a botched art heist in Philly, where Alex had tried to fence stolen canvases to fund a gallery show that never happened. I was gonna go straight for you, Alex confessed, head on Zachary's thigh. Use the cash from that last score to vanish. Start over in Chicago, maybe. With you, if you'd have me. Zachary stroked his hair, resolve hardening. Chicago sounds good. But first, we end this. Together. They hatched a plan over stale takeout. Alex would lure Marco to the gallery opening. Bridges Unburned was set for 2 weeks out, a perfect stage with crowds and cops nearby. Zachary would tip off a detective friend from the youth center, a burly ex-Marine named Torres who owed him a favor from a pro bono design job. Bait and switch, Alex said, sketching the layout. We draw him in, let the badges handle the rest. It felt reckless, cinematic, like a scene from The Wire crossed with Brokeback Mountain, but in the stolen moments between, their love deepened. Stolen dates in hidden pockets of the city, a midnight picnic in Central Park, feeding each other strawberries under the stars, slow dances in the flop house to a crackling radio, Alex's cheek against Zachary's, humming off-key to Springsteen. Born to Run became their anthem, a vow whispered in the dark. The night before the opening, tension coiled tight. They made love like it was the last time. Tender, unhurried, Alex's fingers interlacing with Zachary's as he brought him to the edge, voices breaking on names gasped like prayers. If this goes wrong, Alex murmured afterward, no, I love you. More than sketches, more than survival. Zachary held him fierce. It won't. We're building that bridge, remember? But doubt lingered, a shadow at the feast. The gallery buzzed with the elite, curators in slim suits, influencers snapping pics for the gram, the air thick with wine and whispered critiques. Zachary moved through it in a daze, tuxedo jacket feeling like armor, Alex's hand brushing his encoded reassurance. Rita cornered him near the bar. You look like you're about to birth a buffalo. Everything's set. Torres is outside, plain clothes. Alex texted, Marco's en route. She nodded, fierce pride in her eyes. Proud of you, kid. For fighting for your happy. The high came crashing when the doors swung open, Marco striding in like he owned the joint, flanked by his goons, eyes scanning the crowd. Alex tensed beside Zachary, whispering, showtime. Marco zeroed in, a shark scenting blood, weaving through the throng. Fancy setup, artist boy. He sneered, clapping Alex on the shoulder hard enough to bruise. This where you hide? Using your fairy tale to dodge debts. The room hushed, heads turning. Zachary's heart hammered, but he stepped forward, voice steady. He's not hiding. And neither am I. Cops are here for you, Marco. Game over. Torres materialized from the shadows, badge flashing, goons in cuffs before they could blink. Chaos erupted, screams, flashes, but Marco lunged, fist connecting with Alex's jaw in a sickening crack. Zachary dove in, tackling the bastard, fists flying in a blur of rage. Get off him. Sirens wailed outside, backup swarming. Marco went down snarling, Torres hauling him up. In the melee, Alex pulled Zachary to his feet, bloodied but unbroken, their foreheads pressing together amid the storm. We did it, Alex gasped, grinning through the pain. Yeah, Zachary echoed, kissing him right there, uncaring of the stares, their love a defiant stroke on the canvas of the night. But victory's aftertaste was bittersweet. As the gallery cleared, Torres pulled them aside. Crew's bigger than we thought. Feds are involved now, warrants, extraditions. Alex, you're looking at time, kid. Testifying could cut it down, but... Alex's face fell, the weight crashing back. Jail. Fuck. Zachary's world tilted again. No. We'll fight it. Lawyers, appeals. But Alex shook his head, eyes glistening. I can't let you wait, Zach. Not years in the pen. You deserve the light, not this cage. The argument raged in the cab ride home, words like weapons. Don't you dare noble your way out. Zachary snapped, tears hot. I love you, flaws, debts, all of it. And I love you enough to let go. Alex countered, voice shattering. At the apartment, he packed the duffel, deliberate as a death march. Keep the exhibit running. Build something real. For us. Dawn broke as Alex slipped out, the door clicking like a final period. Zachary collapsed, the silence deafening, betrayal's echo twisting anew, not from lies, but from love's cruel mercy. Winter clamped down on New York like a vice, snow blanketing the streets in a hush that mirrored Zachary's hollow days. The trial came swift and merciless, Alex testifying in a federal courtroom downtown, his voice steady as he unraveled the crew's web, Marco's empire crumbling under the weight of evidence. Zachary sat in the back row each day, a ghost in wool coats, catching Alex's glances like lifelines across the oak benches. Sentencing was a gut punch. 3 years at Rikers, reduced for cooperation, but still, a chasm of concrete and bars. Letters became their bridge. Alex's arrived weekly, scrawled on lined paper smelling faintly of institutional ink. Tales of the yard, where he'd barter sketches for extra commissary, dreams of post-release life. A studio in the Hudson Valley where they could paint sunrises over the river. Miss your laugh, Zach. Miss your body like air. Hold on to us. Zachary replied with ferocity. Updates on the youth center, where his exhibit had sparked a scholarship fund. Confessions of lonely nights, fingers tracing the scars Alex left like maps to memory. Rita became his rock, dragging him to therapy sessions in a walk-in clinic off Atlantic Avenue, where a soft-spoken counselor named Eli unpacked the layers. Marcus's ghost, Alex's fire, Zachary's fear of abandonment woven into his bones like bad ink. You're not broken for loving hard, Eli said one gray afternoon, steam rising from their coffees. You're human, and humans rebuild. Spring thawed the ice, and with it, Zachary's resolve. He launched a podcast, Unburned Bridges, interviewing queer artists on love's sharp edges, voices from the margins sharing stories of betrayal and bomb. Listeners poured in, messages lighting up his inbox. Your words saved me tonight. Alex's episodes were pre-recorded letters, read by Zachary in the studio, voice cracking on the tender parts. Parole hearing came after 18 months, a sweltering July day that dripped with promise. Zachary paced the waiting room, palms slick, Rita at his side with a flask of bourbon-laced courage. He'll walk, she insisted. Boys got art in his veins, judges eat that shit up. The door opened, and there was Alex, shaved head gleaming under fluorescence, prison pallor fading into tan, eyes locking on Zachary with a hunger that spanned the miles. Free, he said simply, and Zachary launched into his arms, the embrace a dam breaking. They spilled out into the street, the city a blur of horns and heat, hailing a cab to Zachary's, now their apartment, redecorated with murals of bridges spanning chasms, sketches Alex had mailed framed like talismans. No words at first, just touches, fingers lacing, breaths sinking, as they crossed the threshold. Clothes fell away in the hallway, urgency tempered by time's wisdom. In the bedroom, they moved like rediscovery. Alex's mouth worshipping Zachary's skin, mapping changes, the new tattoo on his ribs, a tiny crane in flight. Zachary's hands gentle on Alex's faded scars, kisses like sutures. I dreamed of this, Alex whispered as he slid inside. Slow and deep, their bodies a perfect lock. Every night. Zachary clutched him, legs wrapping tight. No more running. We're home. Climax crashed like waves on shore, leaving them adrift in sheets, hearts pounding in unison. Afterward, curled together, Alex traced Zachary's jaw. What now? I got no job, no creds. We build, Zachary said, fierce. You sketch for the center. Teach kids to draw their truths. I'll handle the gigs. And nights? They're ours. Months unfolded like a well-worn sketchbook. Alex dove into community work, his classes at the youth center a hit. Rough-edged teens blooming under his guidance, turning pain into pigment. Zachary's podcast exploded, sponsors lining up, but he kept it grounded, a beacon for the lost. They fought, of course, over Alex's restlessness, Zachary's workaholic streaks, but make-up sex in the kitchen, apologies whispered over dawn coffee, mended the rifts. One crisp October evening, as leaves swirled in eddies down Knickerbocker Avenue, Alex knelt in Prospect Park, this time with a ring, simple silver, etched with a bridge silhouette. "Marry me, Zach. Let's make forever official." Tears blurred Zachary's vision, laughter bubbling up. "Hell yes, but only if we honeymoon in Chicago, scout that studio." The wedding was small, queer as a pride float, Rita officiating in a rainbow stole, Eli as best man, the youth center kids providing chaotic joy with finger paints and cheers. Vows exchanged under the oaks. "I promise to see you, shadows and all," Alex said, voice steady. "To build with you, not Ron." "And I promise to hold the light," Zachary replied, "even when it burns." As they kissed, the world applauded, but in that moment, it was just them. Two men who'd crept into each other's naked vulnerabilities, stealing hearts instead of trinkets. Life wasn't a fairy tale, it was grit and grace, betrayals forged into bonds stronger than steel. But in the quiet after, Zachary knew, they'd crossed the bridge, and the view from the other side was worth every storm. In the years that followed, their story rippled out. A mural on a warehouse wall in Bushwick, lovers entwined not in despair, but defiant joy. And every rainy night, when thunder rattled the fire escape, Zachary pulled Alex close, whispering, "Remember that thief who crept in? Best break-in ever." Alex would grin, hazel eyes sparkling. "Damn right. And the unexpected? Falling so hard, I never wanted out." Humanity, in all its messy glory, had won.